we celebrated the centenary of the 1917 National Eisteddfod that was held in Birkenhead Park in great style on the 9th and the 10th of September 2017. And the big ceremonies were held in the school when we had the chairing of the poet, the bard, for a circle of poems on Hedd Wyn, the poet that was killed in Pilkem Ridge on the 31st of July 1917 and who won the chair, which is called the Black Chair, Gerddi, at the 1917 Eisteddfod. And we were privileged to witness the ceremony of the chairing of the poet on the 9th of September. The winning poet came from Cardiff. His name was Martin Hughes, and the ceremony was the MC for the ceremony was Rhoddir Owen, the president of the Liverpool Welsh Society, and we also had the privilege of having the chairman of the Hedd Wyn Fflanders Society who gave the chair to us, and as well as the Archdderwydd of Wales who came along to be in charge of the ceremony. We also had the singing of the poet's hymn by a number of singers from Bethel Chapel in Liverpool, and we heard a poet of distinction from Flintshire, Norman Clos Parry, as well as Dr. Robin Gwyndaf, giving the adjudication for the 9 poets who had entered the competition. This video is something to be something that is so worthwhile. The outdoor session was held in Birkenhead Park near the stone that reminds us of the original Eisteddfod in 1917 that was given by Councillor David Evans of Claughton, who also gave the chair, the black chair that was used in the Eisteddfod. We were privileged to have Dr. Hugh Edwards in charge of the ceremony, and we had distinguished guests to speak, as well as a choir from Anglesey called Cor Bara Breath that also took part in the ceremony. The video for the park is excellent because we didn't have any means of presenting the speakers in a way that all the people that came along could hear them. Now we can hear in this new video, and we're most grateful for it.
Siŵr bod ni'n gyd yn barod ac wedi hir ddisgwyl am y seremoni arbennig yma. Felly, yn y lle pwynt cyntaf, croeso i chi gyd yma i Penbedw ac i'r wyl arbennig hefyd. Mae'n hynod bod yna gymaint ohonoch chi wedi dod yma yn hyd ac sydd yn dangos mor bwysig ydy yr wyl yma. Wyl ac yma mae'r rhifod o Cadeirio'r Bardd y Bilingual. Hynny yw, wrth gwrs, os oes teilyngdod ynde. Yn Eisteddfod 1917, sydd o 2 ddiwrnod yr oedd o. 2 ddiwrnod sydd gyda ni hefyd. Ond 2 ddiwrnod yn 1917 o'r Herwydd y Rhyfel. Yr arweinydd ar y llwyfan y diwrnod hwnnw oedd sew tegid. Mae rhai o'na chi sydd yn gwybod rhywbeth am tegid wedi'n sylweddoli bod o ardal o Balar oedd o'n dod. Ie, mab ffarm oedd o. Mab ffarm o'r enw Ffridd y Gymen, fferm yn Llangower ar odre y Llyn Tegid. A rhyfedd yn te bod Dr Ben wedi gofyn i ni arwain y pnawn yma. A unai hefyd yn fab ffarm o gwmwd gyfagos i Llangower. Felly mae'n bleser gennau fod yma y pnawn. Tywydd y dydd, da ni wedi clywed digon amdano fo'n barod, a diolch i Hew am ei eiriau ddiddorol dros ben am y sylwedd y prif weinidog, y Cymro David Lloyd George. Wel heddiw, Fe oedd Prifweinidog Cymru i fod gyda ni, sef Carwyn Jones. Ond yn anffodus, bod o wedi methu dod. Ond mae o wedi gyrru i gynrychiolydd yma ata ni. A da ni yn gyfarch o hefyd, Sir Deian Hopkins. Oedd o'n eistedd yma'n hyn, lle mae o'n nawr. Lle mae Sir Deian, ac o yn fanatw. Sir Deian, cyfnwch yn eich traed i ni, gael gwybod ydyn ni wedi gweld pa yn eich marw. So, croeso ata ni. Yn cynrychioli'r cynulliad. Mae hynny'n deud llawer yn dydi, bod cynrychiolydd o'r cynulliad wedi dod allan ni yma, y pnawn yma. Gydag mae yna ddyn pwysig arall hefyd. A dwi'n ei droi i'r Saesneg. With Sir Deian Hopkins is another very important person. General Riley, General Jonathan Riley, high-ranking officer in the Welsh Fusiliers. Again, we are very honoured by your presence. Will you please make yourself known so that we know who you are and give him a welcome. So dyna chi safon o pwysigrwydd beth sydd gyda ni yma heddiw. Gyda Lloyd George, dyn ni wedi clywed eisoes. Oedd Lord Leverhulme, a dyn pwysig iawn yn yr ardal yma. Ac roedd Lloyd George yn aros gyda Lord Leverhulme yn Burton Manor. Yma heddiw, dyn ni'n dathlu'r wyl arbennig honno yn 1917. Eisteddfod y Gadair Ddydd. Eisteddfod Hedd Wyn. A enillodd y Gadair Ddydd. The chair of mourning, mae'n rhaid i gael wedi. The chair of mourning. Digon gwir. Ac ydyn ni'n llawer ychyn y ffaith bod Dr Ben Rhys wedi cael y weledigaeth o wneud yr wyl yma yn bosibl. Mae rhaid meddwl bod hi'n uchelgeisiol dros ben. Ac mi oedd hi'n uchelgeisiol. Ond mae ffaith bod chi yma y pnawn yma a tro'r dydd heddiw yn dangos bod pethau yn gweithio. Ac yn ddiolchgar iawn iddo fo a'r tîm oedd yn gweithio gydag am drefnu y cyfan. Fe welwch y gadair hyfryd yma sydd o'r ymlaen ni fan hyn. Ac mae wedi cael ei rhoddi gan y Gymdeithas Hedd Wyn Fflanders. Mae'n syndod ydy bod gennym ni Gymdeithas Hedd Wyn yn Fflanders. A diolch ydynt am ei gwybod, am fod am ei presenoldeb, oherwydd yn nhw sydd yn cyfarch ac yn gwneud siŵr bod ni'r Cymru sydd yn mynd i Fflanders i weld y beth Hedd Wyn, fod pethau'n cael ei trefnu iddyn nhw. Mae'n 7 ohonyn nhw yma yn nawr, ac yn ni'n diolch iddyn nhw am yr heilioni o roddi y Gadair hardd yma i ni, i'r Eisteddfod yma. Dydw i ddim yn mynd i henwi nhw i gyd, oherwydd mae'n siŵr yma so i ddim yn gallu anhanu nhw. Ond mae y Cadeirio'r yn dod allan ni y Gymdeithas, mynd i ddweud gair wrtha ni. A dyn ni'n croesawu Ywyn Rheel ata ni i ddweud gair. Ywyn Rheel, os gwelwch yn dda.
Pnawn da. Apart from pnawn da and iechyd da, are the only words in Welsh I know. They said that iechyd da was the most important one. Anyway, Birkenhead was an important place for the Welsh, so it's very meaningful to bring it back. And we hope that with this project we can again reinforce ties between Flanders and Cymru. Thank you very much.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Arwyn. Meddyliwch bod nhw wedi dod yr holl ffordd o Belgium a syni yma heddiw. A hynny'n anrhydedd i ni bod ni wedi cael nhw yma. Wel, mae'r gadair, fel y dywedais i, wedi cael ei ffoddi gan nhw fel gwobr. A mae yna wobr ariannol hefyd yn mynd i'r buddigol. Mae yna wobr ariannol o gan pint. Ac mae honno wedi cael ei rhoi yn rodedig gan Hilda a Geraint Thomas. A hynny cof am ei anwylfawr Alwyn a gollwyd y llynedd. Ac mae Hilda a Geraint gyda ni yn y cefn yn fan acw. A dyn ni'n ddiolchgar iddyn nhw am y cyfraniad arbennig tuag at y wobr yma. Gan mlynedd yn ôl, yr Archdderwydd oedd dyfed fel y clywson ni eisoes. Heddiw, ydyn ni'n drafodus bod yr Archdderwydd gyda ni, sef Geraint Lloyd. Dyn ni'n ddiolchgar fod o wedi ymgymeryd i ddod ata ni heddiw. Na chi gysylltiad arall o'r fala. Geraint ydi o i mi, oedden ni'n yr ysgol gyda'n gilydd. Yn ysgol Tydam Domen. Hefyd mae'n aelodau o'r llys yma hefyd. Ac dwi wedi gweld y cyn Archdderwydd yma hefyd. Christine James, dwi'n gwybod bod ti yma rhywle, ond croeso atan ni, mae'n hyfryd i gweld chi. Ac yn hyfryd o weld aelodau eraill o'r llys, o'r orsedd sydd wedi dod atan ni yma i'r hwyl arbennig. Wel, mae'r Archdderwydd Geraint Lloyd wedi cael ei eni a'i fagu yn y Sarnau, pentre yn ymyl y Bala, a pentre hynny sydd yn llawn diwylliant, ac mae o'n dal yn llawn diwylliant. Wel, mae barddoni wedi bod yn waed yr Archdderwydd erioed, ers mae o'n rhaglen. Cofio amdano fo yn barddoni yn yr ysgol, yr Eisteddfod yr ysgol. Da ni'n mynd yn ôl llawer blwyddyn, mae o'n imancach na fi, a dwi'n siŵr bod o'n falch o ddweud hynny. Mae o wedi ennill sawl cadair, Cadair Pont Rhyddidigau, Powys, Penbedw Bont Steffan, Eisteddfod yr Urdd yn gyntaf yn Porthmadog 1964. Ac hefyd mae o'n fardd coronog. Coronog o Eisteddfod Wrecsam 2011. Wel, ydyn ni yn ddiolchgar iddo fo am ei bresenoldeb yma heddiw. Ac ydyn ni'n edrych ymlaen am y ffordd oherwydd gan y fo, yn eddwyl y fo, y mae y ddefod o goroni o Cadeirio y Bardd. Felly, mae'n obeithio y bod yna deilymgod, gai ddweud, hybarch Archdderwydd, pleser o'r mwyaf wedi gwneud gwahodd chi i'r llwyfan i gymeryd drosodd y rhan o'r ddefod y Cadeirio. Hwch chi the, groeso cynnes iawn iddo fo.
Wel, dyna chi dda. O hwnna dda iawn. Na fi'n meddwl dwi'n gwybod. Ac os wyt ti rhyw 10 mlynedd yn hyn a fi dwi'n pan oeddet ti yn y chweched dosbarth, a pan o'n i lawr yn dosbarth 1, oeddet ti'n gallu bod yn hen fiawch bach am i fi. Ac be dwi'n gofio amdana ti'r ysgol, de, oeddet ti'n brifect, efo eithon o athodyn mewn prifect, a do'n neb yn cael dod i mewn os oedd hi'n glawio ti allan, o rhaid aros cyn bod ti'n cael dweud mas gwych i mewn. Wel, wan te, gyda i mae'r gair o law. A mi na i'n fawr iawn ar ôl. Brad y gael fi yma, dwi'n gwybod am dywasanaeth di yn Lerpwl ers 100 mlynedd a mwy. Wyt ti wedi bod yn un o gongolfeini y gwaith da sydd mynd ymlaen yn y pethau yma, a dyn ni ddiolchgar iawn i Cymru. Wel, wan te, dyn ni wedi dod i bedwerydd sesiwn y diwrnod arbennig yma i goffau Hedd Wyn. Felly, Gwyndaf, wyt ti yma ar ben dy hun, ond yn trafodi'r feirniadaeth ar ran Siôn yn ogystal, a dyn ni'n groesawu hi yn fawr iawn iawn ac yn anwyl iawn iawn yma atan ni. Wedyn os ddweud chi...
Wel, aml gyfeillion, diolch yn fawr iawn Geraint am y geiriau caredig. Mae'r amser yn mynd heibio, a falle bydd rhaid i fi gwrtodi y feirniadaeth, ond gai ddweud ar y dechrau fel hyn. Hyfrydwch a braint arbennig iawn i'r Dr. Siôn Lloyd Owen am unne oedd cael beirniadu Cystadleuaeth y Gadair yng Ngwyl Hedd Wyn. Felly ar ran y ddau ohono ni, diolch o galon. A diolch hefyd i'r holl wirfoddolwyr sydd wedi gweithio mor galed i sicrhau bod y rwyl hon i gofio Hedd Wyn yn wyl mor ardderchog. A yn arbennig iawn diolch i'r parchedig Dr. Stephen Rhys, un o gymwynaswyr mawr glannau Merswy a Chymru. Fel fe fentrodd na 9 i'r gystadleuaeth, 5 o gerddi neu gyfres o gerddi yn y mesur hyd a 4 cerdd yn y mesur caeth, ar gynghanedd, 2 awdl ac 1 cywydd. A peth cyntaf mae'r ddau ohono ni, Dr. Siôn Lloyd a finne, eisiau ddweud yw hyn. A mae hyn yn bwysig gyda chi. Gwaith beirniad yw ysbrydoli cystadleuwyr yn y marn i, dyfe. A fi eisiau diolch yn nhw ar ran Siôn a finne am roi bri ar yr wyl hon drwy gystadlu. Chwilio rydyn ni am gerdd neu gyfres o gerddi byddai'n rhoi ni mewn llai na 100 o linellau ddarlun byw, diffiant o'r bardd. Darlun nid yn unig o'r Hedd Wyn ddaeth mor enwog, ond darlun hefyd o Ellis, Humphrey Evans, yr Ysgol, y mab fferm cyffredin, ond anghyffredin o alluog. Os yn bosib, roedd ni eisiau weld o'n berson byw o flaen llygaid ni. Roedden ni eisiau teimlo'r galar yn calon ni, pan oedd o farw mor drist a gwas y gall. Dwi'n gweld glwsoch chi Siôn, mae'n siŵr falle rai o'ch chi am wr o'r enw Simont Fychan, dyn ni'n ôl ganrifoedd lawer nawr. Wel, tua 1570, yn y gyfrol 5 llyfr cerddoriaeth, fe ddywedodd o hyn, a dwi'n hoff o'r geiriau yma, ni wnaed cerdd ond melyster i'r glist, ac o'r glist i'r galon. Dyn ni hefyd yn cofio geiriau Dick Jones. Chi'n cofio nhw? Mae alaw pan ddistawo, yn mynnu canu yn y cof. Wel, ar ran y ddau ohono ni, dwi wedi mentro rhoi awgrym neu ddau ar y cyfansoddiadau, a dwi'n siŵr yn gwneud y ben nghanol i hoff brysurdeb sicrhau bod y cystadleuwyr yn cael y sylwadau yma. Gorwel Glan, Ann Cook, Eg a Rw a brawd o Gwm Prysor. Roedd y garen ni i'r ymgeiswyr hyn roi mwy eto o sylw i gywirdeb iaith ac yn arbennig i'r mynegiant, fel bod yr ystyr yn gliriach ac yn cofiadwy. Ond, wedi dweud hynny o ran cynnwys, mae cerddi yn cynnwys themau, gwerthfawr iawn, diddorol, ac mae yna ym mhob un ohonyn nhw ambell linell gwerth i chofio. Dyma chi enghraifft, Ann Cook, disgrifio'r gyflafan fawr ar esgair Pilkem am Rhoddir Passchendaele. Meddai hi, llifau yn araf y môr coch gweidlu ar y tir erchyll. Wedyn ymwelydd, cywydd, yn dwyn y teitl Ysgol ein cynhysgaeth. A dyma chi ddwy linell gofiadwy ganddo fo yn disgrifio, neu hi wrth gwrs, yn disgrifio Hedd Wyn. A mae'n fis Gorffennaf, cofiwch, amau a oes yma haf o gwbl gan gwmwl gwaed. Wedyn Trem y Boel. Cyfres o 10 o gerddi o'r hyd, lle grefyddol I naws, efo pwyslais arbennig ar heddwch a chyfiawnder. Yn hytrach na chyflwyno darlun uniongyrchol o Hedd Wyn. Mae yna o leia 2 o'r cerddi ar ffurf emynau. Bach o syndod, dweud I gwir, ond maen nhw'n emynau cofiadwy iawn. Mae hi'n cerdd I filwr ifanc. Maddau arglwydd ei fod eto'n hoelio'r anwyl ar y groes. Gyrru'r mag, nid i'r da, gyrru'r mag I grafan cangau, I fodloni balchder oes. Disgyn boeni, am adaliad mynnu grym. Maddau arglwydd I bob peilat oedd mor llwfr heb weld y gwir, am ddiniwed, lanciau, difau, a warchodau, estron dir. Golch ein dwylo, ninau o'i cywilydd dydd. A dyma bennill cyntaf y gerdd, ninau'n cofio. A pennill I hwn, os cael i'w grynu, mi fydde fo'n berthnasol iawn I wyl Hedd Wyn am Penbedw. Dyma'r pennill. Ddiw'r tregaredd, dyrodd ddendith ar ein cofio ninau nawr. Atal rhyfel ei archystra, rhag difrodydd gariad mawr. Bod ein dagrau am greulondeb frawd at frawd. Ac mae ni nawr yn dod at 2 cerdd orau'r gysadleuaeth. Etnowain. Awdl. Wel er bod yn y gerdd o'n rai llinellau gwanach na'i gilydd, mae'r awdur wedi llwyddo I roi ni mewn cynghanedd, bortread byw, cynnes a chofiadwy o Hedd Wyn. Yn yr englynion agoriadol, mae Ellis Ifans yn mwynhau bywyd yn ei gartre ac yng nghwmni gymdogion. Gwrandewch. Bywyd braf yn haf o hyd, I ysgol a'i ysgwrn yn wynfyd, a'i hen fro yn llenwy fryd, yn addurn i'w gelfyddu. Ond fe ddaeth neu dro ar fyd. Gweinidogion ac ymgyrchwyr eraill yn casglu bechgyn ifanc I faes y gad gan bregethu. Cofiwch, mae'r rhyfel cyfiawn i'w y gair. Yn y gair yw'r hyn a gawn. Yn te Ellis, yn gadael tir, I gartre. A dyma'r cwpled wedyn. O iall, I faes o falltod, yno I fan na ddylai fod. A pan ddaeth awr I gadeirio yn Eisteddfod Penbedw, ni welodd ddydd gorfoledd awr I glod, ond gwaed ar y gled. Awr I glod, ond gwaed ar y gled. Ac yn rhanol ar y ger mae Odnowain yn talu terfged deilwng i'r teulu a Gerald yn arbennig am gadw drws yr ysgwrn ar agor. Mae'n cawenhau hefyd fod yr ysgwrn bellach yn eiddo I Gymru, yn Gymru gyfan ar byd. Yr ysgwrn yn dwyn I gof, nid yn unig golled fawr ar ôl Hedd Wyn, ond hefyd aberth yr holl fechgyn ifanc ddodd farw yn y rhyfel. Ac fel hyn mae'r gerdd yn cloi. Son o bechgyn rwan, I hawr hwy fydd yn parhau a'i mawredd rhwng y muriau. Ar byd I dod i'r ysgwrn. Mae'n dweud da. Dyna Etnowain. Wedyn, person dwi'n edrych genw y plu, a dych chi'n cofio, ni welais I hyn yn y llyfrgell genedlaethol, yn un o fersiynau awdl yr arwr gan Hedd Wyn, y plu oedd wedi I ddewis fel llygenw. Nid fleur de lis. Wel awdl hefyd sydd gan y plu yn y gysylltiaeth hon. Ac bod angen cywiro rhai gwallau iaith a gwella'r mynegiant mewn rhai rhannau, mae'n ei gamp arbennig ar y gerdd hon. Ac yn arbennig yn nifer o'i henglynion yn milwr, hynny di'r englyn cael llinell. Beth yw'r gamp? Wel, anger teimlad wedi fynegi'n gynnil a chofiadwy. Gan y plu, enghraifft, y cafwyd y llinell ardderchog yma. A falle, trwy'n mynd yn ôl o Penbedw, cofio'r llinell yma. Poen y byd yw Penbedw. Mae o fwy na lle, dydy. Poen y byd yw Penbedw. A dyma nawr rai dyfyniadau pellach o'r awdl, gan ganolbwyntio ar wallgofrwydd o'r ymladd a'r dioddefaint mawr. Mae o ar faes y gad. Awn dros y top, dan gropian, i anobaith y chwiban, a byddwn farw yn y fan. Yn i'r neb yn hwyr y nos, hawdd i angau yn ddangos, ofer i'w ffoi, o fawr ffos, erys bedd yn Fflanders bell, mewn cwmwl mae'n cymell, awn i weld ein colled ni, arwr a'i bedd yw'r stori. Awn i ipur ar ein gypris, a chael yn meddyliau'n chwys, sŵn rhyfel sy'n yr helynt, a sŵn y gwn sy'n y gwynt. Rwy'n meddwl bod hwnna'n gwplet gwych iawn. Joseph? Sŵn rhyfel sy'n yr helynt, a sŵn y gwn sy'n y gwynt. Wel dyna y plu, ymleun ar ôl. A plu genw awr cerdd. Cerdd wahanol iawn i bob un o lle. Cyfres o 8 o gerddi'r rhydd ar ffurf sgwrs rhwng Hedd Wyn a'i gariad. Diolch yn dweud pryd o'i gariadon, ond dwi'n credu mai Jenny Owen tan Pestiniog oedd yn meddwl y bardd. A ferch roedd Hedd Wyn yn llythyra ati hyn diwedd. A mae'r gerdd hon yn rhoi ni bortread byw o'r cerddi hyn, yn rhoi portread byw tyner o fab yr ysgwrn, drwy eiriau ei deimladau o'i hun ac eiriau teimladau gariad. Mae cynildeb a ffithiant trwy y mynegiant, yr arddyd sgyrsiol naturiol mewn iaith bob dydd, iaith bob dydd, a'r dewis gofalus o ddelweddau yn rhoi gwerth neilltuol i'r darlun. Yn arbennig wrth wrando ar y cerddi, yn cael ei llefaru yn uchel, a dwi ddiolchgar yma i Sion ac i hydfeiriad i. Ddarlledodd o rannau helaeth o'r gerdd yma, a chi bod o'n i gweld beth newydd yn nhw. A dyna beth i barddoniaeth dda yn dweud, ydych chi'n gweld rhywbeth newydd yn nhw. Ac dyma chi ddyfyniad neu ddau. Mae gariad yn siarad yn yma nawr. Bob nos cymyn i gysgu. Mi wylaf dyn y bore bach yn cerdded i mewn i harddwyn trydredd i gyfeiriad y gorwel. Mae'r milwr wedyn. O'r diwedd, cyrraedd a llinell blaen. Sieliau'n clecian fel trenau cyflym yn plymio i bob man, pistilloedd o brydd yn tasgu gyfywch a thai. Yng nghanol y gwallgofrwydd. Y gwallgofrwydd di, mae gronynau o aer. Beth enw? Cydfilwr yn estyn llaw. Ar faes y llaw. Isio helpu. A da chi'n gweld y darlun. Mae'r diwedd yn dod. A mae gariad o wedi mynd i'r ysgol. Mae yn yr ysgol. Mae efo mam Hedd Wyn. A dyma be mae'r bardd yn dweud, eisteddaf, mae gariad yn siarad, eisteddaf i at y fam, ath fam, gyda mae degwyr sy'n dweud yna, lle ni wrth siarad dweud at y fam. Mae mor naturiol. Eisteddaf i at y fam mewn cegin oer, y llanyddwch fel saib cyn cyrch tan belenau. A beth sy'n cyrraedd? Y parsel yn cyrraedd. Mae hwn yw'r cyfanserol, ein teimladau ar wasgar, petheuach ar fwrdd. Lapiwyd y pecyn yn daclus am ddau grys, raser, par o drowsus, sbaner bach, cyllell boced, cydyd o wallt. Walet. Rydw i fel hogan bach, stod na hefo'i bwyd. O, mi wnawn ni rhywbeth. Wedi glywed i'n sisial geiriau serch. i dy ddal di yn gyfan. Wel, dyna ni. Diolch i chi am wrando. Dwi wedi'n cytogi, ond ar ran sôn ar Aled a Minne, dwi wedi manylu ar dair o'r gerddi gorau. Y ddwy ogl, Nwain a Pli ar gyfer y gerddi gan awrsiro. Felly mae'n gwybod pwy sy'n mynd i'n dwi wedi camol y tair. Ond y cwestiwn ddech chi siwr bod ydi, ie. Oes yna unrhyw un o'r tair yma'n deilwng o Gadair Gwyl Hedd Wyn? A dwi'n mor falch i gael dweud bod y dair yn deilwng iawn o'r Gadair. Yn werth i cyhoeddi, ond ydych chi'n dal, mae'n gwybod pwy sy'n ennill. Mae'r tri yn agos at ei gilydd ac yn heiddi pob tro. A dwi'n mawr obeithio y byddwn ni'n clywed o'r llwyfan hwn, oherwydd dwi'n digwydd yn credu hwn mewn cystadleuaeth. Fe hoffwn ni weld hyn yn yr Eisteddfod Genedlaethol hefyd, bod yr ail, os ydyn nhw'n deilwng o'r Gadair, bod yr ail a hyd yn oed y trydydd yn cael ei enwi o'r llwyfan. Oherwydd nid ennill yw'r peth mawr, ond yn yr ymdrech, yn dyfe. Beth bynnag, chydig bach dyn ni'n rhoi yn drydydd Ednowain, gan ail agos y Pli, fel dwi wedi traddodi'r Fernedau. Ond yn gyntaf, am y cyfanwaith. Nes i gweld dim byd mawr o'i le, y cyfanwaith ydy. A'r portread byw, di-piant, anaturiol o Fab yr Ysgol. Mae Dr. Sion Aled Owen a fi'n yn falch iawn o gael cyhoeddi mae enillydd Cadair Gwyl Hedd Wyn yn 2017 ydy awr siro. A diolch i chi am wrando.
Felly, ydw i yn mynd i gyhoeddi mae awr sero sydd yn ennill. Os ydi o neu os ydi hi yma safed. Alwyn Thomas a Iestro Ffrangeg, Terpwl, blanodd yn ddod o gariad at i Archdderwydd Cymru a Llenyddiaeth. Ngoleg y Brifysgol Nghaerdydd, fe gafodd rhan yn y Gymraeg ac yn y Brifysgol Warwick, fe gafodd rhan MA mewn cysylltiadau diwydiannol. A rhwng 1970 ac 1986, mod i cael sawl job. Mod i'n cael nifer o swyddi. Gweithio'r dydd, na chi rhyw job ddim dod ar ei llaw ti bob dydd, na chi? Gweithio'r dydd, gwas sydl a gofalwr yn yr amgueddfa werin. Ac yn y gyfamser, mi roedd o'n cyfrannu i straeon i'r faner, pan oedd y faner yn ddiw. Yn 1988, mi gafodd cylchgrawn golwg i sefydlu. A Martin oedd un o'r gohegwyr cyntaf sy'n dod yn is-olygu ar bapur y Western Mail. Oedd ei cyhoeddi 2 nofel a chyfrol y straeon byrion, ac yn 2007, dwi'n iawn Martin, oedd ei nofel Mae Heddwch yn Brifo am brofiadau milwr yn Rhyfel y Falklands. Yn ail yn gystadleuaeth Daniel Owen yn Eisteddfod. Dyna chi rhywbeth i wneud. Dwi'n pawb sy'n gallu ennill Daniel Owen hwyl, a dwi'n pawb sy'n gallu dod yn ail am ei waith oedd hynny'n gryn dipyn o gam. Wan, un peth arall, yn 2014, 2 blynedd yn ôl, fe ddos di yn ail yn y goron yn Steddfod Llambed yn 2014 ac yn drydydd yn yr un gystadleuaeth yn 2015. A llynedd, mi enillodd o Gadair Hwyl fawr Aberteifi a choron i Steddfod Llambed ac eleni fe ddaeth o'n ail yn gystadleuaeth y goron yn Eisteddfod Montryfenigau a fo enillodd y Gadair yn Steddfod Cadeiriol Dyffryn Conwy yn Campws. Ysgol Cynganeddi dan awd menter Caerdydd ac mae ddyled o'n fawr, meddwl fo, i Enir Davies, Rhys Iorwedd, sydd yn mynd wedi ennill y Gadair yn y genedlaethol, ac i Osian Rhys Jones, y sawl nes i gadeirio fo yn Sir Fôn yn wythnosau yn ôl. Wel, mae nhw wedi bod wrth eu traed nhw. Felly, dyna'r wybodaeth, a dyn ni eisiau symud ymlaen o'n yn egwyddyd yn fan hyn. Ond yn ei canol nhw, mae'n Mr. A'r i fod gysyll gyda Parchedi Robert Harry o Wrexham wrth y piano bach yn y fan fan. Felly, lle mae'r Tracy Canolwan?
Gadair Hwyl y Gadair Ddydd. Yng Nghymru draddodiadol, y Gadair yw gwir symbol medrusrwydd bardd mewn gornes deg drwy dechneg sain fydryddol. Yn awdlaen gwlad ceir amryw a'i hanes yn unigryw, ohonynt oll, hon sai fel cwr, yr arwr o fyd distryw, gan Ellis o Drawsfyndydd, bugail myth y gelldydd, fel oen yr aeth, heb be na bwr, i farw yn y posib. Pan fydd y corn yn galw, gan mlynedd o'r tro hwnnw, un Martin Hughes, un BBC yw'n Prifardd ni ym Penbedw, pan edrydd gwerin stori o wyl y dathlu leni. Bydd eto fyw at chwedl Hedd Wyn, sef hyn ei ran ohoni. Bardd o'r brifddinas sy'n yma, cer mynd a dod a'r pethau. A'r Gadair fydd i fardd y ffin, sef Martin, flwyddyn nesaf.
Mewn cystadleuaeth dda, yr ail oedd yr un oedd yn galw ei hun yn blu. Di o'n mas, o'n i'n just gofyn yn ysag ofn. Na chdi. Na chdi. Reit, wel plu oedd Arwel Emlyn Jones o Rhysyn. Wel, hen law eto, sef her bleddu o Bilingual. Mewn cystadleuaeth dda, Martin. Ni'n gwyddo i ddilho bein ffôn hwnnw. A'n genig iawn. Wan te gawn ni fo fan, hen warth yn adeg o fer.
Wel, annwyl gyfeillion, mae'n gobeithio bod chi'n clywed pob gair yn glir a bod e'n angen meicroffon arno ni prynhawn yma, ond mi'n rhoi croeso cynnes i chi gyd i'r digwyddiad bwysig iawn yma, wrth bod yn ffrindiau ni'n ymuno ni hefyd yn dod draw o'r neuadd. A phwrpas hwn wrth gwrs yw yn bod ni'n dadorchuddio cofeb. Cofeb o bwys i filwyr gan gynnwys Hedd Wyn a gollodd ei bywyd yn yr Ryfel Mawr. It's a great privilege for me to be here this afternoon, and thank you all for joining us. Our friends are still joining us from the centre and from the school. But this is an event which brings together lots of representatives and lots of interested parties in a ceremony which I think is a very powerful symbol of not just Welsh culture, but to think about the sacrifice of so many in conflict, including, of course, the Great War, when Hedd Wyn and so many others lost their lives. And I'm very pleased to welcome representatives of local authorities here in Liverpool and the region, and representatives of the armed forces. I'm grateful to all of them for being here today. It's very good to see you all, and thank you for taking part. And we will work our way through a few speakers who've promised to be very concise. And then after that we will have Côr Barabrith, who are an excellent choir, have joined us from North Wales. Diolch yn fawr i chi gyfeillion. Ni'n edrych ymlaen a clywed chi'n canu nes ymlaen. And we will unveil the memorial in a splendid setting, and let us all give thanks for blue skies and one or two clouds, because a few hours ago all bets were off. Ac felly gyfeillion, diolch o galon i chi. It's my great pleasure to call first of all on the Mayor of Wirral, Anne McLaughlin, who's going to just share a few thoughts with us. And all of our guests have made a big effort to be here today. So I'd like to give them all, as they approach the microphone here, a very big round of applause to signal our gratitude for their presence. Thank you very much indeed, Anne. Thank you.
Thank you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure and a privilege for me to welcome you here today to our beautiful Wirral Peninsula.
There's no mic. It's not a mic.
And particularly here to our magnificent Birkenhead Park, the jewel in the crown of Wirral's green spaces. When Professor Lee invited Bill and I here today and sent us information about the story of Hedd Wyn, we were amazed and saddened to read this poignant story of the Black Chair. I'm sure that this commemoration brings home to all of us the significance of that empty chair and the unbelievable scale of other empty chairs throughout Great Britain at the time of the First World War. The tragedy of that lost generation serves to remind us all of the sacrifice made by so many for us to enjoy the freedoms that we do today. It is fitting that 100 years later we should commemorate the centenary of the 1917 Eisteddfod being held here, and to launch an exhibition which is in our visitor centre here, which brings the First World War into focus for a new generation to remember the great sacrifice that was made. And indeed, children here in Wirral from our primary schools have contributed to that exhibition and now understand the story of the Black Chair. We look forward to having the opportunity to meet with many of you here during the rest of the afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for some very moving comments, and indeed underlining the significance of what's happening today. Because it's very important that members of the local authorities are behind what's going on, and really to highlight the very rich culture that makes up this region. And of course, I would say this, wouldn't I? Welsh culture being top of the pile in this instance. Yeah. Diolch yn fawr, Ann. Thank you very much. Not so long ago, I was hosting the election coverage, and I had the pleasure of interviewing the new Metro Mayor, Steve Rotherham, who gave me as good as he could give. He gave me something to think about. So I'm delighted that Steve is able to be here today to share some thoughts with us as well. Can we welcome him, please? Thank you very much, Steve.
Thanks, Hugh. Distinguished guests, Madam Mayor. For those who speak Welsh, I'm sorry I can't speak Welsh, but for those who are English, I've been told with my Scouse accent I can't speak English, so I'll do my best to get my voice heard. It gives me great pleasure, of course, to be here today to be part of the Black Chair Festival, both a commemoration of the work of Hedd Wyn and the centenary of this historic Royal National Welsh Eisteddfod that was held here in Birkenhead Park. Hedd Wyn's tragic death at a young age cut short a career of an extraordinary poetic talent, and of course echoes the fate of one of Birkenhead's most famous sons, the poet Wilfred Owen, also killed in action in the Great War. For generations past, Liverpool was known as the capital of North Wales, and the imprint of Welsh influence is evident in the many great buildings and great businesses built and founded by the Welsh community. As Metro Mayor, it's one of my big ambitions to deepen and strengthen our relationships and our connectivity. We've worked with the Welsh Government to deliver investment in improved rail connections, to bring services to our communities closer together, starting with the vital work on the Halton Curve. There is, therefore, profound symbolism in the restoration of the Eisteddfod Memorial Monument to Hedd Wyn, as it hopefully is symbolic of the restoration of a vital and creative, cultural and creative relationship. So thank you very much for the invite to be here to celebrate with you all today. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Diolch yn fawr, Steve, am y sylwadau. Thank you so much, and it's good to have you with us. Thank you very much for coming. We have a range of distinguished historians with us today. I've lost count, and it was rather daunting earlier for me to have to speak in front of them. And I hope I didn't really put too many mistakes into my address. They've been very kind, I have to say, so far. They've been very kind. One of the most distinguished is Sir Dian Hopkin, who is, among many other things, the principal advisor to the First Minister of Wales, Carwyn Jones, on the centenary events around the commemoration of the First World War. And Sir Dian is here today representing Carwyn Jones, the First Minister. We're very pleased that he's here. Ni roi croeso cynnes I ti, Dian. Can we give him a warm welcome? Thank you very much.
Wel, diolch yn fawr iawn, Hugh, am y croeso. Diolch yn fawr iawn I chi gyd am ddod yma heddi ar ddiwrnod mor flasus. O'n i'n sylweddoli bod na haul ar gael tu allan I Gymru. Ond hynny, ond diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you very much, Hugh, for your kind words. Distinguished historian, I'm not sure I would accept any of those. I thought you actually triumphed this afternoon, so you've got nothing to be concerned about. I would simply say on behalf of the First Minister, he's very, very sorry he couldn't be here, and he has sent his amanuensis, I think is what he was, a special advisor to this occasion. But he wanted to make it quite clear to you, Steve, and to you, Mayor, that this is not a pitch for absorbing the Wirral and metropolitan Lancashire into Wales, although I have to say historically we still would like to make a claim for it. But I think the relationship is strong, and today is a classic example of this. I'd like to congratulate Ben and all the others for this remarkable feast we are witnessing to commemorate 100 years ago. Of course, people may say, why on earth was there a national Eisteddfod in Birkenhead? Well, my personal feeling is that we should be repeating that because I think the influence would be enormous. There are so many people outside Wales who still have great affection. I actually rather fancy the idea of Chicago or New York as well, but you know, that's ambition for you. But this is very important for a particular reason. I'm holding here a copy of the poetry of Hedd Wyn. Barddoniaeth Hedd Wyn wedi cael ei gasglu a'i grynhoi at ei gilydd. And it's interesting to reflect that we lost a great poet. But here in Birkenhead Park, they were training young men to go to the war. And it was a training ground. How many more poets did we lose? How many more scientists? How many more creative people did we lose? It is that loss of promise, the loss of the future that was reflected here. And we must never forget that actually that loss wasn't just about people, it was a whole culture, it was a whole civilization. And indeed, I'm quite sure we all say, as they said there, never, never again. And so when we commemorate and remember, we remember and respect their contribution and their sacrifice, but also learn a lesson. One purpose of the commemorative board, of which I happen to chair and General Riley and others are members and contribute to, is to ensure that future generations understand what this was all about. And this kind of memorial, with all the material and the schools are doing with it, is part of that legacy. Mae 'na etifeddiaeth i'w gofio. Mae'n bwysig bod ni'n dal i gofio. A diolch i chi Ben, diolch i chi bawb am eich wledd heddi. Diolch am y ddarlith arbennig yma bore yma. A diolch i chi am ofyn i fod yma I roi geiriau byr. Thanks for mercifully allowing me to say just a few words. Thank you very much indeed. Diolch iawn.
So Diane, diolch yn fawr. Thank you so much, and again, thank you for representing, as you always do so eloquently, the reason we're here, and of course, providing representation too on behalf of the First Minister and delivering his message of support as well. It's greatly appreciated. I'm so pleased to see a good representation from the armed forces and from the gentlemen who have served. It's very good to see you all, and very important part of this ceremony today. And I want to welcome Lieutenant General Jonathan Riley of the Royal Welsh Fusiliers, who's also going to say a few words to us. His presence is greatly appreciated today because the message really is, of course, about the sacrifice and about the sense of duty and commitment and loyalty which this dedication will symbolise today. So with that in mind, can we give the General a warm welcome? Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. As Hugh indicated, Ellis Evans was killed serving in the Royal Welsh Fusiliers in our regiment. And that's why I, as the senior living member of the regiment, am very proud to be with you today. Ellis Evans belonged to the bardic, the artistic tradition of Wales as a poet. But he belonged to another tradition too. And that was the artistic tradition that was alive in the regiment, in the Royal Welsh Fusiliers. It is said with truth that there is more written by and about that regiment than any other on the army list. It is a tradition that began in the American Revolutionary War and continued right the way through both of the world wars of the last century. It embraced officers and non-commissioned ranks. It embraced the wives and sweethearts. Ellis Evans probably did not know that he belonged to that tradition. Indeed, there is no evidence that he even knew some of the other artists and writers who were in his own battalion, the 15th, including David Jones and Llewellyn Griffith. But that does not matter. He belonged to that tradition, and that is why we who wear this tie and who wear that hackle and flash are proud to be with you today, and why the regiment was proud to contribute financially as well to this memorial. Thank you.
General, thank you very much again for underlining the tradition that this is part of. It's good of you to make the point so eloquently. Thank you. We are moving on to just another couple of speakers. just another couple of speakers, and then we will have the ceremony of the unveiling, because I'm pleased to say that we enjoyed earlier a very informative and useful contribution in the form of a lecture from Emeritus Professor Robert Lee, and lots of us found his themes around Belgian element in terms of the Belgian man who actually crafted Hedd Wyn's chair. Weave that story was a very, very interesting thing to do, and I greatly enjoyed the presentation, as many of you did. So can we give Professor Lee a warm welcome? Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. Can I welcome you to Birkenhead Park? The park manager, Paul Davis, is over there. On behalf of Paul and his staff and the friends of Birkenhead Park, and of course on behalf of the Black Chair Centenary Committee, which I had the pleasure to chair. I simply want to make 4 points. First of all, the events today are symbolic in so many ways. They're symbolic of the wastefulness of war and the damage that it inflicts on families, friends, and society in general. But it's also, secondly, symbolic of the role of poetry and the arts in helping to understand all the consequences of strife and the human condition. Thirdly, because the iconic black chair was crafted by Eugene van Vletteren, a Belgian refugee in Birkenhead, it also underlines the continued need to provide care and support to refugees, people who are fleeing conflict no matter where they're located, quite contrary to the policy of the present government. And fourthly and finally, it's symbolic of the way that Birkenhead Park has always tried to cater for the ethnic communities, for the diversity of Birkenhead and the Wirral. Because 1917 wasn't the first time that the Großed took place exactly, if I can just move your foot slightly, yes, that's it, where Hugh is now standing, because the first National Welsh Eisteddfod to be held here was in 1878. And as the park is the first publicly funded park in the world, the model for Central Park, New York, we are determined that it will continue to fulfill that function in the future. Thank you.
Robert, thank you again, and we'll all say amen to the message about the park. That's absolutely clear, and it is glorious. It's my first visit to the park, but it won't be my last now, and I can see that it's worth a bit of exploration, but it's magnificent. It's a bit of a cheat because the weather clearly makes it look even better than it probably is.
The weather's always like this in Birkenhead.
He's just said the weather's always like this. Who am I to doubt it? It's a lovely park. I'm delighted to be here. We've had the Belgian contribution already explained this morning and referenced just now, but I'm very pleased to say that we have the Honorary Consul of Belgium in Manchester, Mr. John Mayers, with us today, and I want to give him a very special welcome. Thank you very much.
I was asked to bring a flag, ladies and gentlemen. I did, but it's the one, unfortunately, that usually hangs from the top of a 100-foot mast. So I had to discard my toga for just a few minutes. It looks very well on you, sir.
Thank you, thank you.
I know how sorry my ambassador was about not being able to be here today, but I do have a personal message from him which I'll read to you. And I'm very honoured to be able to represent him, and especially Belgium, at this very meaningful occasion. From the ambassador at the Belgium Embassy in London.
On behalf of myself and the Belgian Embassy, I would hereby like to thank the people of Birkenhead for their help and support for the Belgian refugees in October 1914 and throughout the First World War, now 100 years ago. What you and your country did for our refugees was enormous, and we are eternally grateful for this. My grandparents had been themselves refugees and fled to France at the beginning of World War I, and I still remember their stories. Remembering the past and past sacrifices, it is very important building a bright future together, which is equally important. Yours faithfully, Rudolf Haugen, the Ambassador to London.
John, it's so good to have your message, and thank you so much. I think that that's a very, very valuable and moving contribution, a direct message from the family and from the community, and we're very grateful to you for bringing it and delivering it so eloquently. It means a great deal. Now let me tell you what's going to happen next. In a few moments I'll be asking the Reverend Glenys Wilkinson on behalf of the Birkenhead Welsh Society to unveil the memorial, but before that we're going to hear from Dr. Ben Rees, and as you know, Ben is very much in the vanguard of leading so many campaigns and sustaining Welsh culture in this part of the world. And he too, of course, in his leadership role with the Merseyside Welsh Heritage Society, has been working tirelessly to make sure that this happens. Because as we all know, and as Robert alluded to earlier, these things don't just happen. Mae angen gwaith caled gyfeillion. Mae angen gwaith caled iawn mwyn cael penwythnos fel hyn I weithio. So I'm going to call on Ben to say a few words, after which we'll move towards our friends in Barabrith and the unveiling itself. But can we give Ben a warm welcome? Ben, croeso mawr I ti. Diolch yn fawr.
Wel, anwyl gyfeillion, croeso mawr I bawb o'noch chi, a da ni'n falch o'ch gweld chi yma yn cyfarfod arbennig heddiw yn ymyl y gofgolofn yma. And as a Presbyterian minister, we don't speak for just 3 minutes, but usually for 3/4 of an hour.
Please.
And Hugh,
please.
and Hugh Edwards.
Oh, please.
And Hugh Edwards is an elder of our church. So when I go every year to London, he's got to listen to the sermon. And but I'd like to say, before I do anything else, how grateful we are to Hugh Edwards. He's a great friend of mine. I was a great friend of his father, and he has a way of putting things so well. And I think the military people here today should thank him very much for the way that he looks after the Remembrance Sunday on television. He does it so well. And that comes from a pacifist. So, but I never miss it because you do it so well. Before the Queen and all the VIPs, he brings home the message of remembering those who lost their lives in more than 2 world wars, but especially the First and the Second World War. Now, I'm not going to say any more, because I've got here at my side an Anglo-Welsh poet, Professor Deryn Rhys-Jones of the University of Liverpool, who in 2 or 3 minutes you should be going back to the hall to give you an adjudication. But we decided that Hedd Wyn, in my opinion, has written one of the best Welsh poems on the war. And not praising the war, but saying that because we go so far from God, we don't have respect for each other. And Deryn will read it in English. So This is how it goes. Gwai fi fy miw, mewn oes mor ddreng, a diw ar drai ar orwel pell. O'i ôl mae dyn yn dair na gwreng, yn codi ei awdurdod hell. Pan deimlodd fyned ymaith ddiw, cyfododd gledd i ladd i frawd. Mae sŵn yr ymladd ar ein cliw, a'i gysgod ar fy thynod tlawd. Mae'r hen dilynau genid gynt, yng nghrog ar gangau'r helig draw, a gwaedd y bechgyn lond y gwynt, a'i gwaed yn gymysg gyda'r glaw.
Bitter to live in times like these, while God declines beyond the seas. Instead, man, king or peasantry, raises his gross authority. When he thinks God has gone away, man takes up his sword to slay his brother. We can hear death's roar. It shadows the hovels of the poor. Like the old songs they left behind, we hung our harps in the willows again. Ballads of boys blow on the wind. Their blood is mingled with the rain.
Diolch yn fawr. Dyna'r te gyfeillion, gyda geiriau Hedd Wyn wedi clywed yn glir. I ni'n mynd i glywed geiriau am Hedd Wyn. Geiriau ar Williams Parry, penillion, ac mae'n bleser mawr gen i groesawu ein cyfeillion ni o Ynys Môn. Ac eich chi yma gyda chroeso cynnes iawn. Ac felly dwi eisiau rhoi cymeradwyau ac ni'n edrych ymlaen yn fawr at glywed y canu. Can we give Paul Meibion Barabreath the warmest welcome? Thank you very much.
Wel, rwy'n teimlo fod hi'n fraint mawr cael sefyll yma heddiw ar ran Gymdeithas Cymru Birkenhead. Ac i gofio Hedd Wyn, gofio ei gamp a'i aberth, A hefyd cofio am yr holl wir ifanc o glannau Mersi ac o Gymru ac o llasaint ei bywyd yn y rhyfel mawr. Mae Mrs Mair Rhys-Jones, ein llywydd anrhydeddus ni, wedi rhoi rhaglen i fi, ac mae'n cofio fe gafodd y Gymdeithas gyfle i ddathlu hanner canrif Eisteddfod y Gadair Ddydd yn 1967, ac aelodau'r Cymdeithas yn cymeryd ran. Cafwyd gwasanaeth am 5 o gloch wrth y maen cwffa yma, ac ar diwedd y seremoni, cyn yr emyn olaf, gosodwyd torch o flodau ar y maen, gan drysorydd y Gymdeithas, y diweddar Mr Cecil Roberts. Ac am hanner awr wedi 6, cynhaliwyd cyngerdd yn neuadd y Gynethod y Parc, yr Academi rwan, a llawer o aelodau a'r plant yn cymryd ran. Well, members of our Welsh Society have kept an eye on this memorial over the years, and one member remembers how her husband spent many hours cleaning it and repairing the written words, and it's possibly in preparation for the 1967 celebrations. And it's recorded in the minute book in 1998 that a letter was sent to the Wirral Council complaining about the poor state of the memorial stone, and the council promised to look into the matter, and a few months later the stone was repaired at the expense of the council. So I would like now to thank the Merseyside Welsh Heritage Society, Friends of Birkenhead Park, with support from the Wirral Council, Snowdon Park Authority and Birkenhead Lions for organising this very special festival, and also for the local schools and organisations that have done the exhibition in the pavilion. So thank you all very much indeed. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them. When you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrows, we gave ours today.
Diolch yn fawr gyfeillion am eich presenoldeb chi, y prynhawn yma. Mae wedi bod yn ddefod arbennig ac yn gyfle i ni adlewyrchu ar golli gymryd o fywydau. A very moving tribute to the millions of lives that were lost in the great conflicts of the last century. And I have to say, and this is my note of congratulation to those who are working here in the park and on the various committees, the stone looks magnificent. The memorial is magnificent, and it's well worth many photographs at the end of this ceremony. So you're welcome to approach, and of course the events of the weekend go on. Fe fydd digwyddiadau'r penwythnos yn parhau. But I want to thank everyone who's taken part today, and for our distinguished guests, all of those who've taken part and who've made this such a special and memorable event. Diolch yn fawr i chi gyd. Thank you all very much.